afternoon, everybody. We're going to get started. Welcome to the October 15th, 2024 City of Oshkosh Plan Commission meeting. We're glad that you can join us. I see we have a quorum. I have a few housekeeping items to go over before we begin. Please turn off or silence all personal communication devices. The applicant and members of the public may speak to any item before the Plan Commission when the relevant item to which you wish to speak is called and public comment is open. Unless an exception is made by the Plan Commission, the following rules will apply. The applicant will be given up to 10 minutes to present any information they wish for us to consider. Thereafter, members of the public will be given up to 5 minutes to address the specific item before the Plan Commission. Members of the public may only speak once per called agenda item unless a Plan Commission member requires clarification or wishes to ask you a question. Questions or statements from the audience will not be considered. Only statements from the podium after your name, address, and within the allowed time constraints will be considered. After all community members have had an opportunity to speak on the called agenda item, the applicant will be asked if they have a final statement for the Plan Commission, and the Plan Commission may take action on that agenda item. The Common Council has adopted rules of decorum for city boards and commissions, including the adoption of a civility pledge. No person shall personally attack a board or commission member, city official, staff, or any other person. No person shall make irrelevant, unduly repetitive, offensive, threatening, slanderous, defamatory, or obscene remarks or act in such a manner as to disrupt or disturb the orderly conduct of the meeting. This includes hand clapping, stomping of feet, whistling, shouting, or other demonstrations. I thank you all for your understanding. Now on to the agenda. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Here.
Mr. Bowen?
Here.
Ms. Shireman? Ms. Propp?
Here.
Councilmember Nichols?
Here.
Mr. Belleville?
Here.
Ms. Davy?
Here.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Here.
Chairman Perry?
Here.
8 board members present.
Thank you. Approval of the September 17th, 2024 minutes.
Move to accept as written.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, I'm seeing none. We can have a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are passed. Item number 1 has been withdrawn by the applicant, so we are moving on to item number 2. Item number 2 is residential design standards variance to allow for modifications to the front facade at 1922 Mitchell Street. Chris Ramos is the owner and applicant. Have there been any site inspections? Okay, those are duly noted. I'll accept the staff report as part of the record. Please present your summary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is requesting approval of a variance from the city's residential design standards to allow for modifications to the front facade at 1922 Mitchell Street. The subject property is a residential lot located at 1922 Mitchell Street and is approximately 13,700 square feet in area. According to the City of Oshkosh Assessor's website, the subject property contains a 966 square foot, one-story single-family structure that was built in 1920. The surrounding area consists of single-family uses with varying character and of similar scale. The subject property is zoned single-family residential 9. In April of 2024, the applicant submitted design plans for a kitchen, bathroom, and laundry room remodel at the subject site. Within the application, the applicant requested the ability to remove the sliding patio door on the front facade and replace it with 2 smaller windows. At that time, the applicant was made aware that the submitted design plans did not meet the city's residential design standards and therefore could not be approved. Staff worked with the applicant to find alternatives that met the city's requirements and even met the applicant on site to talk through the request. The applicant proceeded to move forward with the permit for the other remodel work and informed staff that the sliding patio door replacement would be addressed at a future time once they figured out how they could meet the city's residential design standards. And then on August 12th, 2024, staff conducted a follow-up inspection and was made aware that work had already been completed. In addition to the remodel work, another door on the front facade was removed, as well as the removal and the replacement of inconsistent colored siding on a portion of the home. So here's previous front facade photos, the top photos from 2020 and the bottoms from 2017. And then here's what the facade looks like today. The applicant stated that they removed an old inoperable sliding patio door and replaced it with 2 new energy efficiency windows. The applicant feels these modifications improve the look of the home and can potentially increase the integrity and value. In addition, another door was removed on the front facade as well as the portion of the house being resided. The new windows, the door closure, and their siding were done without zoning inspection or plan commission review or approval. On August 12th of this year, the owner was sent a violation notice and was made aware that a design standard variance was needed in order for the work to not be in violation. Staff informed the owner that they could not issue a permit by right due to the sliding patio door and the front door closures, as well as the siding being inconsistent, and that plan commission needed to review that. The applicant proceeded to try to obtain a permit for the work prior to review and the design standards variance. Staff informed the applicant that the permit would be on hold until plan commission reviews that and either approves or denies the design standard variance. In conversations with the applicant, staff explained that per the city's residential design standards, the proposed plans could not be approved because there is sufficient back up, I apologize. Staff has had in-person, email, and phone discussions with the applicant, and that the applicant provided the prior door and window areas as well as the current door and window areas for the front facade in question that helps staff during the review process. According to the applicant, the modifications were needed as the integrity and well-being of the house is in structural jeopardy. The applicant feels that the design is the best and most suitable option in regards to the home's stability, efficiency, and improvement of the curb appeal. The applicant also stated that the design standard codes restrict them from doing that. While staff understands, the applicant feels the 10% variation wouldn't be achievable considering the wall the sliding patio door is on and the other door on the front facade is not needed due to the door being located on the side facade. A self-imposed hardship is not a sufficient reason for granting a variance. Staff evaluated the completed work previously described and the impacts of the design of the home in regard to the purpose and the intent of the residential design standards. The standards relate to preserving the home's architectural integrity and the potential impact on adjacent properties, the neighborhood character and curb appeal of the block. In working with the applicant, staff considered whether the proposed work met the intent of the residential design standards, work that was done without the proper permits, and information provided by the applicant during the process. In conversations with the applicant, staff explained that the city's residential design standards and the proposed could not be approved because there is sufficient space available to meet the 10% variation change and other modifications that had been completed prior to the applicant obtaining the proper approval and permits. In staff's opinion, the applicant does not provide enough justification for Plan Commission to grant the variance, and approval of this design standards variance request would make it clear that it is acceptable to complete work without the proper approvals and/or permits. As proposed, the front facade modifications do not meet the criteria for granting a variance and would set unnecessary precedent for future requests. In that, staff recommends denial of a variance from the city's residential design standards to allow further removal of the patio sliding door and replacing it with the 2 smaller windows, removal of the other front door, and removing and replacing the siding on the portion of the home of the front facade that is different than the rest of the siding, with the findings and conditions listed in the staff report.
Thank you very much for your report. Plan Commission, are there any technical questions? Councilmember Nichols.
If we deny the variance, what happens next?
If the variance is denied, they would need to reestablish those openings as it was previously on the house, and then the siding would need to match the siding on the house.
Do they have the option to request a different variance that might be more suitable?
They could amend their plan and come back with a different variance.
Okay. And then if we grant the variance, what happens?
If you grant the variance, they'd be allowed to keep the window reduction as is, or the door closure, and also keep the siding as is.
And it doesn't go to council, it's just, this is a
Correct.
decision we make?
Just plan commission.
And then my last question is, what was the alternative that staff recommended that would fall within our requirements as a city?
Emma, were you in those discussions?
We were just looking at other potentials, like putting in larger windows to meet that 10% variation reduction requirements. And then also if they would have attained like a 25% window and door opening on the front, but still with the reduction of that front door, and then also the sliding door, it still did not meet that 25%.
So was it going to be possible that they could remove the sliding door and the other door? I know, well, could they have requested that variance and then met our standards otherwise, requested a variance to remove those, and that's what would appear before us today?
Yeah, they would still need a variance to close the doors off. We would support it if they're meeting that 25% area.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Any other technical questions? Mr. Lowenstein?
So, speaking of a residential facade, a door doesn't need a street-facing door on a house? Because this, obviously, there's still a door on the side, or is that, what is the code in terms of what kind of entrance you need on your house?
Code requires an entrance feature like a stoop or a porch on the street-facing side. And if you do remove a door, you're allowed to replace it on that same facade.
So that door on the side is not code compliant?
It's not needed to meet code,
But it
but
doesn't-
closing it off would not be permitted.
Okay.
Any other technical questions for the staff? Ms. Davy?
Does this revision that was made to the house cause problems if there's a fire? Would this pass a fire code?
That I don't know specifically. That'd be a building inspections question.
Okay, thank you.
Any other technical questions? Okay, I'm seeing none. I will open a public comment and allow public comment on this subject, this agenda item, so I'm going to open the public comment period at this time. Is the applicant here and would they like to make a statement? If you could approach the podium and state your name and address for our records, please.
Good afternoon. Christopher Amos. I own the house. Address 1922 Mitchell Street, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. This particular side of the house had 4 doors on it previously. You got the main entrance around the side. There's a kitchen entrance just on the other side of the between the house and the door. Then there was that sliding glass window or patio door, which was inoperable. It was very inefficient. The floor would freeze and ice would build up around the whole frame. I had issues with pipes freezing, so me and the wife thought it'd be best to close off the biggest window in front, the sliding glass door, and put in small windows to help protect the integrity of the kitchen and the pipes and the house there. And we tried multiple times with the city, and we just couldn't come to an agreement, and we had to get the project done before this winter, so we just kept on going with the project we had. There is 2 entrances right now, in the kitchen on the side and the front of the house on the side. The house is 100 years old, so with that being given, I don't know if these rules were there 100 years ago, but that's all we got.
All right. Ms. Davy, you'd like to ask a question?
Yes, did I understand you to say that in addition to the door that's just around to the right of the lighter blue, that there's an additional door in the same position around the next part?
Yes, ma'am.
It's right there. I'm trying to see it. Right there.
Because it's not showing in those pictures at all. I think this was closed off.
The one that's showing in the lower right there, is that door still there?
The one, right where the trash cans are, it's like right behind the trash cans. It's hard to see.
Is that door still there?
Yeah, that door's there, and the front door is still there. And
Okay,
we
so
re-
you do have 2 exits?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And do you live in this house, actually?
Yeah, I do.
Do you reside here?
I have 2 houses. I just got married, so my other address in Elkhart Lake with my wife. And I work here in Oshkosh, so I stay in this house all summer. I back and forth because it's a lot of driving.
Okay, thank you. With the 2 addresses, it did look like it could be a rental, which was why I was asking.
Right. And eventually, we'd like to do a rental when I stop working here in Oshkosh, so.
Councilmember Nichols like to ask a question?
Can you tell us about why the color difference exists?
We tried to find a light blue, but this was the closest blue we could find at the hardware store. And eventually, we'll get the whole house done.
Got it, thanks.
But this is just a start.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Any member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Okay, I'm seeing none, so I'm going to close the public comment period. We don't need a closing statement from the applicant unless you wish to make one. All right, Commission, the action is upon you.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report, which I believe is to deny.
Correct.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Ms. Prop?
Well, my issue is that the applicant was told over and over again by the staff about what the regulations were and went ahead. And I think that's unacceptable. And I'm sorry if this passes and it's denied. I'm sorry that this is going to create problems for him, but he brought that on himself.
Councilmember Nichols.
I think the most compelling reason for denial is that we heard from staff that there would be support for variance for some of the options here. It wasn't this variance that would, again, happen without approval of staff or consult with staff. I know the rules can be hard to follow. I know it can be frustrating to renovate a house. I've done it. And it's frustrating to work with city sometimes in some of the requirements there. However, if there are options and you can get there, I believe staff when they say they would have worked with it and they would have brought the variance before us and we would have granted it. So I think that's the compelling reason for denial.
Ms. Davy.
I really do appreciate the fact that they're trying to improve the energy efficiency, and obviously they have managed to do that by getting rid of the wind leaky door and all of that, but I agree that this wasn't the way to do it. It should be done legally, especially when you've been informed that it's not going to be. And I think it's kind of like, if you allow one, then what else are we going to allow? So I will be voting yes to the denial.
Any other discussion on the motion?
I guess just a question.
Yes.
I think you were going to go there. Yes is to deny, no is to grant. Is that right?
I believe it's.
I believe that is the case.
Yeah, so
You
yes.
vote in the affirmative, it's a denial because the recommendation would be to deny the variance.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Mr. Bowen?
Aye.
Ms. Prop?
Aye.
Councilmember Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. Belleville?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Aye.
Motion to deny is carried 8-0.
Thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda is a public hearing. It is a zone change from heavy industrial district to heavy industrial district with a plan development overlay, and approval of a general development plan and specific implementation plan for directional signage at 2875 Atlas Avenue. 4Imprint Incorporated is the owner and the applicant. Have there been any site inspections? Those are so noted. Thank you. I will accept the staff report as part of the record, so please present your summary.
Thank you. So the subject site is located on the north side of State Highway 91 with frontage along Atlas Avenue. It is a manufacturing facility owned by 4 Imprints. So here's an aerial view of the subject site. The applicant is requesting a zone change from the existing heavy industrial district to heavy industrial district with a planned development overlay. This is intended to allow for flexibility of the zoning ordinance to accommodate new directional signs. Staff is supportive of the proposed zone change as it will allow for additional signage options for the site. So here's the site plan. The applicant is proposing 4 directional signage signs, 1 along each of the 3 entrances to the site from Atlas Ave, and then 1 more towards the interior for the middle drive along the parking lot. Here are the plans. So the proposed directional signs are 21 square feet and 5.5 feet tall. This does require a base standard modification for increased directional sign area and height. According to the applicant, the increased area and height are needed to increase the visibility of the signs for wayfinding on the site for truck drivers and visitors. So again, the maximum size is 3 feet tall and 8 square feet. They're proposing 21 square feet and 5.5 feet tall. The applicant feels that the larger sign size will assist in directing truck drivers to appropriate entrances and docks safely. This will assist in safe and efficient circulation on the site for 4 Imprint associates, users of the on-site employee Theta Care Clinic, as well as suppliers and visitors. Staff is supportive of the BSM request for the increased sign area and height due to the relatively large scale of the site with several loading docks and parking areas for visitors, clinic users, and associates. To offset the BSM request, staff is recommending the applicant provide 25 landscaping points around each of the signs, and also recommending a condition that ground signage on the site be limited to 1 sign per frontage and not to exceed 72 square feet in area. And this would be consistent with the maximum sign area for the industrial park covenants. And that would allow substantially less ground sign area than allowed by the zoning ordinance for the HI district. So that will also offset the BSM by less signage there than allowed by the zoning ordinance. So with that, staff recommends approval of the zone change, GDP, and SIP with the findings and conditions in your staff report.
Thank you very much for your report. Plan Commissioner, are there any technical questions for staff on this agenda item? Any technical questions for staff? Okay, I'm seeing none. This is a public hearing, and so I will open the public hearing. Is the applicant here, and do they wish to make a statement? Please state your name and address for our records, please.
I am John Lord with 4 Imprint on behalf of them at 2875 Atlas Avenue. So here to answer any questions that you might have, and I think the write-up pretty much explained it succinctly as to what we're looking for our needs for the building out on the industrial park.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Any other member of the public that wishes to speak? Okay, I'm seeing none, so I'm going to close the public hearing. We don't need a closing statement from the applicant unless he wishes to make that. The commission, the action is upon you.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Any discussion on this motion? All right, I'm seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Mr. Bowen?
Aye.
Ms. Prop?
Aye.
Councilmember Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. Belleville?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Aye.
Motion carried 8-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 4 is a general development plan amendment for an industrial storage use at 1911 West Snell Road. Maverick Family Enterprise LLC is the owner. Beeson and Hool LLC is the applicant. Have there been any site inspections? Those are so noted. Thank you. I will accept the staff report as part of the record. Please present your summary.
Thank you. So the site is located at the southwest corner of Interstate 41 and West Snell Road. It contains a auto service garage that was formerly Lawrence Truck Plaza. In 2019, council approved a plan development for vehicle sales for the previous owner, and the approved use was never established. Here's a previous view of the site. It was previously used as an auto service garage. It had an open violation for storage of unregistered, unlicensed, and inoperable vehicles dating back to 2017. And the previously approved PD for vehicle sales at the site was intended to bring the site into compliance. It never was, but the property has since been sold by Lawrence 41 Truck Plaza to the current owner, and the current owner has removed the illegally stored items from the site. So here are pictures of the site from 2023. So previously had a lot of items that were stored there, also in 2018. And then this year, as you can see, the property owner has cleaned up the site, so the storage violation no longer exists. So here's the site plan. The applicant is proposing to use the site for a steel construction company facility. The site will be used as office space for their staff, shop storage of material, of tools and equipment, and an outdoor storage yard. The applicant is also proposing future contractor storage buildings in this area of the site, and future storage business rental building right here. And the proposed industrial and indoor storage uses are permitted in the UI district, while the outdoor storage is a conditional use. The plan also shows 8 product stalls, which is considered outdoor display and is a conditional use in the urban industrial district. So the site will utilize access off of West Snell Road. It's an existing access. The applicant is requesting a BSM to allow the existing gravel and asphalt to remain as is, with potholes and uneven areas to be repaired. Staff is supportive of a BSM to allow the existing gravel areas to remain, as the site will be utilized for industrial purposes and the site has been greatly improved from its previous state. The applicant is proposing to retain the existing footprint of the site and parking areas. This requires a BSM for increased impervious surface ratio to 85.3% of the lot, where code allows a maximum of 80% impervious surface. BSMs are also required for reduced front and street side setbacks to 0 feet for the front setbacks, or street side in front, and 5 feet for the west side property line. Staff is supportive of the requested BSMs for increased impervious surface ratio and decreased setbacks, as the existing impervious surface areas are not being expanded. The applicants will also provide 30 Techni arborvitae hedges along the west property line to offset the reduced setbacks. And this is the landscaping plan. The applicant is not providing new paved area landscaping, and staff is supportive of a BSM to waive the paved area landscaping requirement, as all paved areas already exist and no internal landscape areas are available for plantings. For street frontage landscaping, the plan shows new and existing tall trees being provided along Interstate 41, and that meets the street frontage landscaping requirements. They're not providing any new landscaping along Snell Road, but the points along Interstate 41 do meet the overall plan requirement for both facades, but they do need a BSM or for both street frontages, they do need a BSM for allowing the Snell street frontage without landscaping. For yard landscaping, the provided landscaping points exceed the overall requirement based on the proposed outdoor storage area and anticipated future buildings, and yard landscaping will be reviewed upon SIP submittal of plans for future phases. So the overall site, the applicant is requesting BSMs for parking surfacing, increased impervious surface ratio, reduced setbacks, and reduction of specific landscaping requirements. Staff is supportive of the BSMs as the current footprint of the site is being maintained, and the applicant has significantly improved the appearance of the site by removing all the stored items and debris accumulated by the previous owner, and they're also providing new landscaping to further improve the site.
Thank you very much for your report. Plan Commission, are there any technical questions? Councilmember Nichols.
I was just going to ask if it makes sense first. I'll go ahead and discuss the SIP as well. and hear the report and then vote on these separately, just because they're so related?
I guess that's up to you. This one covered the
That's-
whole site, whereas the SIP was just a portion of the site, so that's why we split them into two.
No, and that makes sense. I wonder if we could, I think we'll save a little bit of time if we.
Yeah,
discuss
why
it
don't you go ahead?
Sure.
So item number 4, item number 5, specific implementation plan amendment for an industrial storage use at 1911 West Snell Road. Maverick Family Enterprise LLC is the owner, Beeson and Hool LLC is the applicant. We'll have the site inspections the same as the previous item. I will accept that this staff report is part of the record. We will vote on both separately.
Thank you. So as mentioned in the GDP, the applicant is proposing to use the site for a steel construction company facility. They'll use it for office space, shop storage, and there'll be an outdoor storage area for small trucks and trailers to the west side of the building. The applicant also notes that part of the existing building may also be rented out to other businesses in the future. The applicant plans to install 8-foot tall solid fencing to fully enclose the storage area, and that will connect to existing 8-foot tall metal panel fencing to fully enclose that area. It'll be a gravelled storage area. And the applicant plans to stripe 30 parking stalls and 7 product stalls to be used by future tenants. The proposed 8-foot tall solid fencing and existing metal fencing extends into the front yard area. Code allows only 4-foot tall fencing and 50% opaque in the front yard areas, so they do need a BSM to allow the 8-foot tall solid fencing within the front yard, and staff is supportive of that as it is needed to fully enclose that storage area. So here's the landscaping plan again. So the paved areas and street frontage landscaping were addressed as part of the GDP. The proposed yard landscaping exceeds the point requirement for this phase as well as all future phases, and they're actually exceeding the point requirement for yard landscaping for all phases. So that serves to offset their requested BSMs. Here's the proposed lighting plan. They are adding additional lighting along the east portion of the site for the new parking areas. They are requesting a BSM to allow increased lighting along the property line to 1.7 foot candles, where a code allows a maximum of 1 foot candle at the right of way. And that is needed as their parking is close to the property line and it should not cause any impacts in the surrounding area as it is butting the I-41 right of way. They're also requesting a BSM to allow the access to this area to have 0-foot candles lighting, and staff is supportive of that as well, as the site has historically functioned without that lighting, and based on the use of the site, it should not generate much traffic. So with that, staff recommends approval of the SIP amendment with the findings and conditions in your staff report.
Okay, thank you. So, Plan Commission, is there any technical questions on item 4 or 5? Mr. Kiefer.
Just wondering if there was any environmental cleanup of the pavement or anything that was required or will be required?
I believe the applicant is here who could answer that.
Any other technical questions? Mr. Bowen.
Just to make sure I know what we're voting on and looking at as to the SIP GDP. The GDP, we're largely approving the sort of the form of the pieces of that site plan that reference future contractor storage, future storage rental business, some of the parking, future parking. That's what we're approving as part of the GDP.
Correct. Yep. The GDP is always
limited to the parts of it that are labeled sort of existing and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So this is the GDP plan with the future contractor buildings and
Yep.
Storage building.
So all that would come back as part of a future SIP.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Just want to make sure.
Any other technical questions from the Plan Commission on item 4 or 5? Okay, I'm seeing none, so I will allow public comment and on item 4 and 5 and open the floor for public comment. Is the applicant here and do they wish to speak? State your name and address for our records, please. And I assume you're speaking on 4 and 5, correct?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jesse Hool. My address is W10716, Cornell Road, Rosendale, Wisconsin, and I'm the owner of Maverick Family Enterprises and Beeson and Hool, sole owner, so both entities that are listed on the application. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. we're excited at the opportunity to be residents in our, call our home Oshkosh. As Brian mentioned, we have a small construction company that we do structural steel erection, and that's a large part of what's going to be in the building, along with some future tenant space that we can utilize the corridor of 41 for visibility. So excited to be here, and if you have any questions for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kiefer has a question.
I'm sorry.
Did you have any environmental issues with oil or anything else on the site that had to be cleaned up, or?
No, nothing that we're aware of.
All right, thank you. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak on this particular agenda item, item number 4 or item number 5? Any member of the public wish to speak?
Yes.
Approach the podium and state your name and address for our records, please.
Ed Crum. I am a group owner of Omni Glass and Paint, property that abuts the new location, former Lawrence. Welcome. So the questions that, obviously you guys are on it with the, in violation with, pretty familiar with the codes, et cetera. But I think we're really dealing with a conditional use permit with this as well, right? I mean, with the
plan development addresses the CUP as well, so it'd be one approval for the plan development that also addresses the CUP in one approval.
Okay, and that the outdoor storage, so if I look at those blocks that are there to the south and to the west, so those are not exposed, those are actually, I would assume, is it like a post frame metal, metal building?
Metal building, yeah.
And is that going to be, will there be water, sewer serving in electric, or is it just going to be cold storage only?
It'll be electric there,
Okay.
and potential for some of them.
Hold on a second.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We can ask that question as the applicant speaks at the end.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
And now, as far as some of the existing, I mean, the property's been cleaned up dramatically. But with the 8-foot corrugated steel fence that basically runs to the north, which is, from what I understand, 4 foot is the max, and you're looking at a variance on that for the 8-foot?
Correct. They're proposing to match the existing 8-foot out there to fully enclose it with 8 foot.
I mean, that 8-foot that's there is, pretty run down.
And we do have codes that they need to maintain fencing,
Okay,
so if it gets in disrepair, they'd have to fix it.
okay, okay. And the existing structure of the buildings themselves, I know that it does appear that it's clad with, a lot of vinyl siding, et cetera. It looks like it was an addition on an addition, over time. And there's, if I understand, the board here is that there's really no plans or no position to, improve the actual physical structure facade itself with any of the, masonry requirements or, any additional, newer metal siding, windows, glass,
With it being an existing building, it's, if it is not meeting the current material requirement, it'd be a kind of legal non-conforming building. We would not require them to retrofit it to meet current codes.
Okay, okay. And can I ask then, as far as like on the metal erection side, I'm pretty familiar with that space. So are you actually, can I ask this question?
Not of the applicant. You can just ask the question
Okay.
in general.
Do we understand exactly what type of erection of, are girders and I-beams and are going to be fabricated, or is the applicant taking metal and converting the metal? Buying materials, et cetera, cutting, gouging, plasma cutting, welding, et cetera, and will there be used materials, demo materials coming from, other sites landing at that physical location, and what are the provisions to manage all of that dunnage that comes in there and order of the property?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? approach the podium and state your name and address for our records, please.
Lorenz Rangeloff, 3000 Oregon Street, Oshkosh. I guess I'm here to speak on the outside. The fence is not 8 foot, it's 6 foot panels. And the current code is 8 foot. I hope he just has to abide by the current code of 8 foot fence. And all impervious surface is supposed to be paved with a curb and landscaping islands in the middle. Now, I was told if I changed the use of any kind, I would have had to do that. So I hope to extend the same to him, that everything's paved and curbed and landscaped. And the fence should be upgraded to the current code. I know somebody in that area, when, at the time it was 6 foot fence, took out a permit to put up a 6 foot fence. Meanwhile, the code was changed to 8 foot, and he had to take down a 6 foot fence and replace it with an 8 foot. So I hope we just, outside the parking area and the fenced in area meets the current code.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Any other member of the public wishes to speak on this agenda item? Okay, I'm going to call the public comment period closed and ask the applicant if they would please reapproach the podium and provide an additional statement.
So in response to Mr. Crump's questions, the future planning there, it would be in what we had in mind were future contractor storage units, something along those lines. The utilities that are planned at this point would be electrical only. Not to say we wouldn't entertain water and sewer there in the future, but this is not near term for future for us. This is probably 5-year to 10-year plan. So that may be feasible at that time. You asked about the existing building. I'm not aware of any need to upgrade the building. We are implementing additional landscaping around the area to screen the building from view from the adjacent properties and trying to enhance the property as much as we can. As far as steel erection and fabricate versus fabrication, be very clear, we're not a fabricator. We're not a fabrication company. We are steel erectors. The majority of our work is on site. This will really be a mobilization location for our crews to come, our home base. There'll be pickup trucks coming in and out with trailers. Everything will be behind that 8-foot fence, which is what's required and completely fenced in. All the dunnage and unloading and things that you speak of will definitely be activities that we incur every day on a daily basis, which will all be held within inside that fenced area as planned. It's part of doing business there. And I believe I addressed all of those comments or questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Plan Commission, the action is upon you for item 4 only.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item 4 of the General Development Plan Amendment. Is there any discussion on that motion? Councilmember Nichols.
I know there were a lot of questions and concern about some of the items that are not addressed in the SIP we'll talk about next. I just want to reiterate that all of those will have to come back before this commission under additional SIPs, and so there will be another opportunity to look at those plans and ask those questions.
Any other, Ms. Propp?
I'm absolutely delighted to find that this site is cleaned up. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? I'm going to have to say something. As the Plan Commission is well aware, I am generally not 4 storage units on any kind of major public road, and being that this is on the highway, this would generally fit within my definition. However, living close by this place and driving down Snell Road the other day, I almost broke my neck looking in there because of the significant change, and I couldn't think of a better thing to go in there at this particular point, so I'll be in full support of this. Any other comment on this motion, on item 4, the general development plan? Okay, I'm seeing none. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Mr. Bowen?
Aye.
Ms. Prop?
Aye.
Councilmember Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. Belleville?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Aye.
Motion carried 8-0.
Thank you. Now we're on to item number 5, and Plan Commission, the action is upon you. And item number 5, the specific implementation plan amendment.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion on item number 5, the specific implementation plan? Councilmember Nichols.
I think I just have a question for staff, if it's appropriate. I know there was a concern that the fence that is existing is 6 feet, not 8 feet. If we learn that that's true, is the requirement to make it 8 feet, or is it to match what's existing?
The requirement is 8 feet.
Okay, so the way that the findings are written is to allow 8-foot solid fencing. I just want to confirm that in no circumstance would 6 feet be appropriate.
Correct. It would need a BSM to allow a lower fence height to screen it. They're proposing 8 feet. That meets code.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Other discussion on the motion from the Plan Commission? All right, I'm seeing none. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Mr. Bowen?
Aye.
Ms. Prop?
Aye.
Councilmember Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. Belleville?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Aye.
Motion carried 8-0.
Wonderful, thank you. Item number 6 is a general development plan for multifamily development at 0 Bowen Street, commonly known as vacant property located near the southwest corner of East Murdoch Avenue and Bowen Street. Thomas Rush is the owner. Mach 4 Engineering and Surveying LLC is the applicant. Have there been any site inspections? That would be me as well. Okay, thank you. Those are so noted. I will accept the staff report as part of the record. Please present your summary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The subject site consists of a 2.26 acre vacant lot on the southwest corner of East Murdoch Avenue and Bowen Street, and it's zoned urban mixed use with a plan development overlay. A Plan Commission workshop was held on April 16th of this year, and Plan Commission was supportive of this proposal. This item came to Plan Commission on September 17, 2024, and Plan Commission voted to lay over this item because the applicant and owner were not present to answer their questions and concerns. Staff contacted the applicant or an owner regarding those questions and concerns, and an updated landscaping plan was submitted. As a reminder, the applicant is proposing a multifamily development which will include 2 8-unit apartment buildings and 1 16-unit apartment building with detached garages. The proposed site will utilize an existing driveway access on East Murdoch Avenue and Bowen Street that is currently utilized by the Piggly Wiggly grocery store. The cross-access agreement will need to be recorded with the Winnebago County Register of Deeds to allow that share access. The applicant is also requesting a base standard modification to allow for a reduced rear setback of 18.7 feet, where code allows a minimum of 25 feet. Staff is supportive of this BSM request, as the rear property line is adjacent to an existing parking lot and access drive. And then here's the submitted revised landscaping plan. So the code requires a recreation area for multifamily developments at a minimum of 200 square feet plus 25 square feet per bedroom, for a total of 1,800 square feet. The new proposed recreation area will be located just south, indicated here in red, of the parking lot, and will be 1,800 square feet in size, which meets the necessary requirement. And then staff recommends approval of the general development plan with the findings listed above and the proposed following conditions. The cross-access agreement shall be recorded with the Winnebago County Register of Deeds. A base standard modification to allow for a reduced rear yard setback of 18.7 feet, and all other BSMs will be addressed as part of the SIP.
Thank you for your report. Plan Commissioners, are there any technical questions to staff? Any technical questions to staff on this agenda item? Okay, I'm seeing none, so I will allow public comment and open a public comment period. Is the applicant here and do they wish to make a statement? Please state your name and address for our records, please.
Chet Wiesenberg, 531 North Main Street, and applicant, and just came here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Any member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Okay, I'm seeing none, so I'm going to close the public comment period. We don't need a closing statement from the applicant, so Commission, the action is upon you.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Mr. Bone is seconding.
Sure.
Got there first.
Yeah, well, I was actually trying to ask a question.
We have a motion and a second. It's so,
I'm just,
Plan Commission, do we have any discussion on the motion? Mr. Bowen?
yeah, this is where I ask that. Mine is just probably, this was probably a technical question that I just based on asking. In the petitioner's narrative, this would be page 12 of the staff report. They note that there's, so they say proposed exceptions from the zoning ordinance. Number 2 in that section that they have is omission of landscape islands at termination of ends of parking stall runs at select locations as shown on parking plan. That doesn't look like it's something we cover as a BSM. Is that something that they're compliant with and they don't need to?
Looks to be compliant on the final landscaping plan. We part of the SIP. This is only the GDP so far.
Yeah. I mean, it looked right. It just, they called it out and I wasn't sure if it was something that we missed or that they just misunderstood the code or something.
And they may have corrected it since then.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't notice anything, but it looks all right, so. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on this motion? Ms. Prop?
I need to ask the applicant about the driveways.
The applicant will report to the podium, please.
As you probably heard, I raised questions about the driveways because they are inadequate. And I don't think, I can't support a final plan that doesn't rehab the driveways. It works for the grocery store, but it will not work to service. The existing driveway is fine, but it needs to be replaced. Those big, you know that there are big potholes that form every spring. And a public works person, wise person once told me that that's because the base is inadequate. And they patch it, but it never works. That, of course, would require discussion with the grocery store.
Sure.
And whether they would be responsive to this, it's not their problem, it's really kind of your problem, so.
Yeah. Well, so far I believe they are responsive. After I got that comment, I did drive through there. I did a quick visual inspection and I personally did not see a problem. But with that said, if there is any damage, we'd certainly be responsible for fixing it. I guess I don't believe the access is inadequate. I believe it's more than adequate.
Well, I know, I live there. I go to the grocery store 3 times a day or something, you know. And in the spring, right now it looks fine.
Okay.
But in the spring, those black patched items will disintegrate once again. They'll become huge potholes, and Ms. Davy is going to agree with me that it's not adequate to support your vehicle traffic. In and out, in and out. And both driveways have, and basically where the big black patches are is where the properties are. And it just, it won't work. It will not be an adequate driveway.
Okay.
And so at this point, I feel so strongly about it. But I love the plan. I love the what you want to put there. That's fine, but I think that's a big issue. So.
Yeah, Ms. Davy.
Thank you for staying there, Chad. I do agree with Kathy that she's absolutely right. All of us who live on that side of town know that you can fall in those potholes and never get your car back come springtime. And that's been repetitive for, well, I've only lived there like 40 years, so I don't know how long it's been a problem. But I love the project. I'm very happy to see that you moved the playground. I think that's a little bit safer place for it than where it had previously been designated between a really busy corner and a vape shop. But I do have concerns about the traffic in and out. And when you're building this, aren't you going to have to be bringing in really heavy trucks to get stuff there?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And
Not-
the ball in.
It's not that big of a project, so it's not all that intensive, really. But, I'll take your guys' word for it. I'll look into it again. Like I said, I did a quick drive around and inspection, and it didn't look bad to me. But that was me just going there to look at it to see what the concern was.
has the traffic study been considered?
Absolutely not.
Why?
So we're talking about 32 apartments where that's not going to bring a lot of traffic in. This corner is designed to hold something much more intensive than 32-unit apartment building.
And it would affect only the public streets, it wouldn't affect the parking lot
Correct.
streets, is why,
Correct.
right?
What's the question?
If you were to do a traffic study, it would only affect the public streets, it wouldn't affect
Correct.
the parking lot streets, is that correct?
I guess it'd be whatever is
Yeah.
required for a traffic study, but
Okay.
I think that's unfortunate because I do think there's going to be problems with increased traffic.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Councilmember Nichols.
So I have a question, I guess for staff, just related to that. As we think about code enforcement, I'm assuming that potholes for an area like this would be problematic, and you all are going to get some emails from people.
There is a maintenance section in our zoning ordinance that covers that.
And so in the event that there were these large potholes, or the public felt that it was deficient, somebody from inspections would go out there and look at it, and then Mr. Wiesenberg would get a letter.
Correct, if there's a violation there. Yeah.
And then if there was a violation, he'd have to correct it.
Yep.
So with that said, I think I'm comfortable moving forward here, understanding that we do have mechanisms in place that would require the correction in the event that they exist after the equipment comes in, after the building is built. My guess is that you're going to have to do some remediation after the building is built, to Ms. Davies' point, that the equipment's going to damage something, likely. So that's where I am.
Mr. Lowenstein?
But the issue is that it's not his property. So I think where we're kind of hung up is that someone else has to promise to fix the access roads and not him, unless they have some sort of agreement in place, right? Because the potholes, it's not Mr. Wiesenberg's problem if the pothole is on the Piggly Wiggly property, right? I mean, that's sort of a code enforcement problem. They could say, we're not dealing with it, and he doesn't have to legally have to deal with it.
But there's a cross-access agreement that has to be filed.
And is that a property maintenance?
Generally, the city's going to send a letter to whichever property the driveway is on, but I guess it's between the property owners who are part of that cross-access agreement to get it corrected.
So that agreement could have a component about who's responsible for maintenance on that road?
I believe generally that would be included in that agreement.
just to add, we're also third owner of the property, the Piggly Wiggly property.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
We're 1/3 owner of the Piggly Wiggly property.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, that's good info to have, thank you.
All right. Ms. Prop?
1/3 owner isn't maybe enough to convince Piggly Wiggly to adequately repair their own driveway. That's their driveway, right? Those are the Piggly Wiggly driveways. And so you, in this development, housing development, are requesting cross-access. And I like the location of the driveways. And, and I think the size of the driveways is fine, but I'm sorry, it isn't gonna work. It isn't gonna work. And you don't have to take my word for it until the spring, when you see what happens.
Sure.
And literally, there are enough large potholes, she's exaggerating mildly, but not much, that we can't take either driveway without, being literally dodging the giant potholes that you don't want to fall into. And that's why we say that it's simply not going to work for you.
Sure.
I want it to work.
Okay, well, so do I. Yeah, I guess this, I was unaware. Like, I drove by and looked at it, and like I said.
Yeah, well, driving by now is way different.
Sure.
Than driving by spring melt when they emerged like tulips, maybe daffodils.
Upside down ones.
Okay.
So anyway, I can vote for this now because it's a general development plan, but I'm going to need reassurance when you come back in.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bowen?
Is the cross-access existing, or is the cross-access agreement to be negotiated?
To be negotiated.
And there's no driveways on this currently, right? Is it just, it's served as part of the convenience store property, technically?
Oh, these driveways are the grocery store.
Right now, it's all lawn.
That's what I'm.
So it's all lawn, and yeah,
Like, it doesn't have its own independent driveways on it currently that you'd be closing.
Right.
It's
Yeah, so when our office looked at the traffic, this made the most sense to use these driveways rather than create new access points.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on this motion? All right, I'm seeing none, so let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Mr. Bowen?
Aye.
Ms. Prop?
Aye.
Councilmember Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. Belleville?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Aye.
Motion carried 8-0.
Wonderful, thank you. The last item on the agenda is adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. We can have a voice vote. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. We do have one workshop.